And most people think that yoga is okay, a little bit of flexibility, have a good lesson with my private teacher, and you will see that yoga, 1 hour of yoga, is harder than 1 hour in the gym.
And it
I would.
and it helps you to stay calm in a crisis.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to the first remotely recorded episode of the Smack Hospitality Cast. For this one, we spoke to Pierre Perusset, the GM of the Ritz-Carlton Hong Kong, and we asked him about measures that he took within the hotel to fight off COVID-19, how he invented or reinvented the hotel operations, and how yoga helped him overcome the crisis. Enjoy the show. Pierre, thank you beyond words for agreeing to come to an episode of Smack. I'm going to start with a very easy one. Can you can you explain the last 3 months of your career in regards to everything that you've experienced before from your perspective of a GM in Hong Kong?
Well, what I would like to say is the last 3 months have been the most exciting. There's different way to look at a crisis. You can look at it in a very pessimist way and put your head down, or you can look at it in a very optimist way. And I would say, despite the difficulty that we face in Hong Kong, it's been a fantastic last 3 months, I have to tell you. It's been very energizing to live through this crisis. It's not my first crisis. I've been through different type of crisis when I was posting in different locations around the world. This one is very unique, but it's been accelerating. It's really been a great opportunity for me and all the people who work in a hotel to deal with this very unique crisis. Actually,
Um,
I had a lot of fun. I'm still having a lot of fun, actually.
Yeah, Pierre, tell me when this whole aspect around COVID-19, when it started for you guys in Hong Kong. What was like just to give people an idea what the timeline was for you guys in Hong Kong? When was the time when you first got the news that there was something coming, and then at what point did you realize, this is going to be quite a a global scenario that's going to affect travel globally?
Well, it was interesting because, we had a protest in Hong Kong that started in June 2019, and then
Yeah.
it continued until end of January 2020, which was Chinese New Year. And at Chinese New Year, the protest stopped and the virus started to be visible in Hong Kong. So it was really the last week of January that we were aware that there was a virus in China. It already hit Hong Kong a little bit. So that was the first alarm, actually, end of January.
Did the unrest already have a strong impact on the tourism and the hotel industry in Hong Kong? So since June last year?
Yeah, it did, because normally we run in this hotel about 85 to 90% occupancy year round. And because of the protests, we're running about, you could say, an average of 50 to 55%. Food and beverage was also affected. So we were already in a crisis. And then when the virus hit us in February and March and April, our occupancy dropped from 50% to an average of 5-6% a month. So a very massive drop after the virus started.
And then take me on from there, Pierre. When you say the end of January is when you first heard about the virus, how did that progress? Did you close down your hotel from one day to the next? Did you gradually did you reduce the teams first and then close down? Can you take me a little bit through the process from a GM standpoint for you in Hong Kong?
Okay, of course, the first thing that you need to do in a crisis, the real first thing is stay calm, don't panic, think very carefully, and stay very positive. That's the first thing, because too often people lose their cool, they take action too quickly, and then they regret later. So you do that. So stay calm, very positive. The second thing you need to think about is how can I protect my guests? And how can I protect my ladies and gentlemen, my employees? Those are the first thing we need to do, and that's the first thing that we did. But initially, we didn't know how contagious the virus was. And I remember one of the doormen asked me, oh, we heard the virus is coming to Hong Kong. Can we wear mask? And at the time, we didn't know if we should wear mask or no mask. Nobody knew. And I said, you know what? If you feel safer to wear mask, then please wear a mask, which is, very unusual for a hotel. So we allowed them to
Yeah.
wear mask. And within a week, I would say that everybody wanted to wear masks. So we allow everyone, of course, to wear mask because we didn't actually know if it was necessary or not. And thinking that the business was really dropping because reservations stopped, travel stopped quite a bit. So the first thing you need to do, in addition to taking care of your guests, is what can we do to reduce cost? So there's many things you can do. First of all, we stay open. We never close the hotel. So we close a few floors because we did not need all the floors. We close one restaurant. It's a buffet restaurant because serving buffet food is not the ideal during such a virus crisis. We have a club lounge. So on the 116th floor of the hotel for VIPs and so on. So we close it, but we also relocate the club lounge to one of our restaurants. So the guests who would have access to that lounge will still have, opportunity to enjoy a club lounge. So those are the first measure that we took in a hotel to not to reduce the staff, because actually we never reduced our staff. Nobody lost their job. The only people who
Yeah.
lost their job were what we call casual worker. People who come and work a few days a week, or they come for a banquet. So those are the people, of course, we did not need, and we use our own people. So those are the few things that we did. You know.
And then Pierre, so how what stage are you in right now? So if we say, okay, end of January, you said it started hitting, you took the first measures. Since did you was there any point? I think you said there was no point where you actually closed down the hotel completely.
Correct.
And what stage are you now at? Do you feel that travel from mainland China is recovering? And give me a little bit of an insight of what stage you are in right now in terms of because in Europe we've heard the first let's say gentle signs of recovery from Asia. Can you confirm that, or is that still a long way down the road?
I would say, you have Greater China, which is mainland China, Hong Kong, Taiwan, and Macau. But in Hong Kong, it's very different, right? Hong Kong is 7.5 million people living in a very short, closed space, right? High density compared to some country in Europe. Now, the stage where we are is with 3 months in that crisis. And up to a month ago, we had 174 cases in Hong Kong, and we had only 4 deaths. Of course, death is not good, but compared to other country, 4 was a very small number. And then every business were open in Hong Kong. The shopping mall, the restaurant, everything was open, the bars. And all of a sudden, after 2 months, then the case started to accelerate. From 174, we now are in the last 4 weeks to 1,026, which again, in proportion to the population is very small. But what happened in the last few weeks is that the government took some different measure. And what they did, they implemented something that works very well. That means every guest entering the hotel need to have a temperature check. We have 2 infrared cameras, one at the staff entrance, one at the main entrance, where people pass in front of it and we know the temperature. If the temperature is over 36.3 or 36.5, then the guests are refused entry to the hotel. It's very rare. When they enter the restaurant, again, we check the temperature. But this time with a gun, it's a gun temperature check. The capacity of the restaurant are only allowed to 50%. So if you have 100 seats, you can only have 50. There need to be a distance between every table of minimum 1.5 meter, and they can only be 4 guests per tables. So those are preventive measures. In terms of hygiene, every 30 minutes we disinfect the entire hotel, meaning the lift, the button in a lift, the escalator ramp. Every time a guest eats in a restaurant, after they leave right away, we clean the table, the chair, the armrest, the salt, the pepper, the sugar, everything that everybody touch. There's soap and sanitizer that is offered to every guest as they enter the hotel, as they enter the restaurant. And basically, this measure have been very good because you don't have a lot of people. There's a lot of space between the people. And that allows us to keep a few restaurants open. We had to close the bar. We have a bar on the 118th floor, which is fantastic. But why we have to close the bar is because people go for a drink and they get together 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 people, and that's dangerous. So you have to close it. You have to close the spa. You have to close the fitness center because, in fitness center, people use many pieces of equipment. It's difficult to follow. So basically, we operate the hotel and we operate some of our restaurants at 50% capacity, and it works very well. And since those measures have been put in place, we had in the last 10 days, some day 5 cases, 4 cases, 0 case, 2 cases. So it's working very well. So this period of semi-lockdown or strong measure will be on until May the 7th. And I think it's very good. And if you can keep this measure, and let's not forget the border is closed, I think Hong Kong is in a good shape to stay away from the virus as of probably middle of May. So those are the measures that we more or less have in place to protect population, guests, employees.
So now with the borders being closed, with the borders being closed and not a lot of tourists coming in, but you're still being open, what occupancy do you have at the moment? How many guests come to the hotel, and how many maybe locals come to the restaurant? Are people feeling safe to leave their house and go to a restaurant because of these very strong preventive measures?
Okay, so first of all, you have no tourists because the border is closed. Only Hong Kong resident can return. And if they come to Hong Kong, or let's say somebody can come to Hong Kong because like me, I'm a foreigner, but I'm a permanent resident now. If you arrive in Hong Kong, you need to be on a quarantine for 2 weeks, either at home or in a hotel if you have no fever. So that's mean very small number of people are returning to Hong Kong. Now, the occupancy that we are running now is 5-6%, very, very low. The restaurants are not bad. To give you an example, we have a 2 Michelin star restaurant, we have a lounge and bar, and for Easter, the 4 days of Easter, we did 2,000 covers. Why the guests are safe? And they feel safe because of all the measures that I just spoke about before, temperature check, sanitizing the lift button, distance between tables. So people feel safe, and also another thing that everybody need to wear a mask. They all wear a mask. So guests feel safe as long as these measures are in place. So basically, we are in a survival mode. Occupancy is low, restaurant business is low, but we have to be super creative. And as a general manager, during a period like this, you cannot just, I didn't talk so much about the cost that we cut. We cut a lot of cost in a hotel. That's the first thing that we need to do. We need to cut decoration, maybe flowers, everything that is not necessary, we have to reduce. And that's easy to do. But then the important thing and the fun thing to do is how do you create a product or experiences where locals, because locals are your only hope of business. So how do you create experiences to attract local to actually come to your hotel to dine or to stay in a hotel? And that's what actually kept us alive. In the last 2 months, I had to change of being, an hotelier operator to an hotelier inventor. So you have to be super innovative, super creative, super full of energy, and create a lot of experience. And I can tell you some of the experience that we created in this hotel if you are interested.
Yeah, what
Please.
Yes, very interested.
So, for example, things we never did before. So we have a e-shop, right? So on the e-shop, we said 4 weeks ago, let's do a flash sales. Hotel never do flash sales. Flash sales mean you take your room rate, you take your restaurant set menu, you take a voucher, and you sell them at a discount. It was at 8 years anniversary, middle of March, and we decided to offer a 31% discount, which we put online, and we listed different products. So you could come to the Chinese restaurant, the 2-star Michelin, and with the name is Tin Lung Hin, and order a menu that normally would cost 1,500 Hong Kong dollar, and you would pay 30% less. You would go to a Tosca restaurant, is 1-star Michelin, have a lunch menu that normally cost in Hong Kong dollar 600 Hong Kong dollar, and you'll pay 450. So this was something we have never done before, and we did it. We put it online for a week, and in 1 week, we actually reached a revenue in US dollar of more than 600,000 US dollar. Fantastic sales. And the people who bought those voucher, they can redeem them between the months of March, April, and May. And for example, they bought a lot of afternoon tea, thousands of afternoon tea. That means every day, every weekend, we are full for afternoon tea. And when I say full, I'm talking about between 80 and 140 people coming for afternoon tea. So this was a very interesting thing using e-commerce. Then we created other experiences. For example, you need to attract families. You need to attract children. They are bored. They are at home. So we created what we call a Ritz hotelier. What is a Ritz hotelier? A child that is maybe 8 years old come to the hotel and he spend 4 hours in a hotel. And we have four models. The first model is housekeeping. He learn how to clean room at home, not like you clean a room in a hotel, but make your bed in the morning, dust your bedside table, clean your floor. After that, he has a class about table manner. How do you sit at the table? How do you use fork and knife? How do you stand? How do you behave at the table? The third model is how do you set up a table? Where do you put the glass? Is the fork on the left? Is the knife on the right? So they learn these few things that they can use at home. And the fourth classes is a cooking class when they learn how to make a pasta. And we did that for Easter as well. So they can also decorate Easter egg or other food item. So these kids, they spend 4 hours in a hotel. Their mom can come or their father can come with them, and they did it many times. And at the end, I go down to one of the room where they are, and we do a little ceremony. I give them personally, I talk to them, I thank them, I congratulate them, I give them a certificate. So this is something interesting. It's you give education and you give experience, and the parents, they love it, the kids, they love it. Uh, Another thing we did as a luxury hotel, we never did food delivery. But this time we said, let's go for food delivery. So we engaged in food delivery more than a month ago, something we never done before. We did a special menu, special prices, environmentally friendly packaging, no plastic. And then we started delivery, 4 weeks ago. It's been very, very good. For lunch, you have request, dinner, we have request. We're going to add afternoon tea. We're going to add also a 2 Michelin star to our delivery service. We also did the picnic basket, so people can buy a picnic basket and either have picnic in one of our terrace on the 118th floor, or take the picnic basket and go to the land in front of the hotel near the Victoria Harbour. It's very nice. Guests can order for family, for example, a roast at home. Like Christmas, you can order turkey or Thanksgiving. So they can order a roast lamb, a roast chicken, a roast beef. And we deliver this at a very good price for 4 people, including all the vegetable, all the sauce, all the potato. So basically a lot of opportunity and a lot of experience we have created in this hotel to generate revenue. And I can tell you that here at the Ritz-Carlton Hong Kong, if I look at our competition, we have been probably the most creative, in attracting people to the restaurant, but also to the hotel. For example, the fitness is closed. So what we did, we set up some suite and some room with spinning bike, with rowing machine, with some lightweight, with yoga mat. So the people can come to the hotel, book a room, and do fitness as well. So basically, we have a lot of opportunity, or we give a lot of reason for local to come and enjoy our hotel. At Easter, our occupancy was 12 to 14%, which is not bad considering that you have no tourists, no business coming to Hong Kong. So, like I said, a very exciting hotel to run under these circumstances. But you have to be
Pierre, all of this sounds amazing, Pierre. But let me ask you, how do you think this time has been challenging for the hoteliers? Because I imagine that this creativity is something that, yes, you had the foresight to do it straight away in the Ritz in Hong Kong. But how challenging do you reckon this time is for hoteliers? Or let me ask the question in a more provocative way, maybe. Is there something good? I mean, obviously there's a ton of negative connotations to the whole crisis and the pandemic, but is there maybe something good in all of this as well, that we've come to a point where hoteliers cannot just sit back and relax in their offices as GMs, but have to be that extra creative and innovative?
I really think exactly. You have two kind of hotelier today in Hong Kong or around the world. Those are the ones that either embrace this crisis and do something about it by being creative, or you just put your arms down and said, hey, it's too bad, this is the way it is. But just to give you an example, a housekeeper, we have too many housekeeper, right? So what do we do, right? So a housekeeper has been asked to work in the lobby as a guest relation, to welcome the few guests who stay in a hotel, to welcome the few guests who come to the restaurant. So they have a different job, they wear different uniform. The same housekeeper has been asked to work when you have banquet or in restaurant, to work as a server. So they work as a server in restaurant banquet. The same housekeeper has the chance to also work in stewarding, washing glasses, plate. So I'm talking to one housekeeper, for example, who had the opportunity in the last 3 months to learn 4 different jobs. So it's fantastic, because in a normal time she will never have this chance. And what I told my people, because at the beginning of the crisis we also announced some unpaid leave. I said to them, nobody will lose the job, but we all have to tighten our belt a little bit. And what they had to do, us as well, is all employee took 4 days unpaid leave every month. That means they don't work, they don't get paid. And management, we take 5 days unpaid, and we don't have to work either. And I told them, we do that, we save a little bit of money, and nobody lose the job. We all suffer a little bit together. And at the same time, you will all have to do different job. So most of the employees in a hotel, they really have to work in different departments. I think it's a fantastic opportunity for them, if they have the right mindset to learn something different. So
Yeah.
I really think the crisis has some positive things, really.
And how's the Hong Kong government supporting the hotel industry? Are there special funds or special measures put in place so that businesses stay afloat?
Well, there's two things for us. We're a management company, Marriott, right? We're part of Marriott. And then we have owner. What I mean by owner, you have a company, in this case, it's called Sanong Kai. They are big real estate company in Hong Kong, developers, very good company, very good people. And even though our hotel lost money the last 3 months, they still paid all the salary. So we're lucky to have that, right? So otherwise, if you're a small business, you would have to close. So we're very lucky to have a very, very good owner. Now, in terms of government, they told us a couple of weeks ago that for 6 months they will count the number of employees we have in a hotel. In this case, you have more than 600 full-time employees, and half of the salary of the basic salary, which is about 18,000 Hong Kong dollars, about 2,000 euro more or less. Half of that salary they will pay, multiplied by the number of employees. So basically, they subsidize, for 600 people, about 1,200 US dollar a month, which is not bad. And that can be effective from June, July, August, for 6 months upwards. So the government is definitely helping the best way they can. So you have the owner who help us, you have the government who help us, and then we help ourselves. It's really different people that help each other so that nobody lose their job. Because the government also encourage, don't get rid of anyone, and we will pay this money. So everybody is encouraged to keep the people on the job. It's a unique situation that we have.
Yeah.
And
If you look into the future, Pierre, and let's take a step ahead here for a minute. How do you reckon business will resume? If we look at the fact that you don't have any tourists in Hong Kong, which probably like most major cities in Asia, or around the world, you largely live off the tourists, which are not going to come, probably, if push comes to worse, maybe not until August, September, October. Um, give me your very honest answer. What's keeping you hopeful that tourists will come back, and what kind of travel patterns do you reckon? And I realize it's a difficult question, because we've never experienced something quite like this. But what kind of travel patterns or changes will we see to travel? You've talked about hygiene already a little bit. Do you reckon hygiene is going to be a bigger focus now going forward? Are people going to be more attentive, or is that going to be more of a factor in the booking process? What's your take on that?
Well, of course, the cleaning process will have to be elevated. Overall, the cleaning process in a five-star hotel or even in Hong Kong in general is pretty high, I have to say. But when you're talking about what is the future, so basically, it's not a surprising question, Fritz, really, because I thought about it, and we need to think of what will happen the next months, 2 months, 3 months, 6 months, in order to plan accordingly. So basically, we have three scenarios. Scenario number one is Hong Kong recover, just Hong Kong, right? The city of Hong Kong will recover, and business can go on normal in Hong Kong, because at the moment there cannot be assembly of more than four people. That means you cannot have weddings, you cannot have business function, you cannot have social function. But once the virus is under control in Hong Kong, and we're in a good way, so my forecast was, let's say from June onwards, Hong Kong is back to normal, phase one. So the only business we will have is within Hong Kong. That means hotel occupancy will not move much, but the F&B business, especially the catering, the banquet, will be very strong, because all the weddings that could not take place will start to take place from June, July until the end of the year, and is very strong on the book. That's phase one. Phase two is within Greater China, because China has made very good progress with the virus if you look at the numbers every day, right? So it seems that China is in a good place. They still have a way to go in mainland, but the hope is that, let's say by July, within Greater China, that means mainland, Macau, Taiwan, and Hong Kong, people can travel. If people can travel between Hong Kong and mainland, that would be fantastic, because we have 40% of our business normally is from the mainland, So, and usually in the summer there's vacation. So if they can travel to Hong Kong from mainland China, this is going to be great. I think that can give us a July and August months occupancy, back to maybe 60% or something like that. And that's what I call phase two. And phase three is when Europe, US, can travel again within the country and back to Hong Kong. And this, which I call phase three, I'm not counting on this before, really, to be realistic, earlier September, but I would say perhaps Q4 of this year. And when the travel resume, is not going to be full travel resume. It will be, business travel, because there's a lot of business coming to Hong Kong, bankers and so on. So I think this will take place. Tourism will start a little bit, but I don't think until 2021 or that we will see a full recovery. So it will be step by step, phase one, phase two, phase three, and phase four is when everybody is back. That will be next year. That's the way I see it.
Looking at the different phases, as you say, that this will come gradually, how do you think Hong Kong needs to position themselves, or you as a hotel, compared to all the other legacy luxury hotels, to attract new customers in the future? Do you think the aspect of strong preventive measures, hygiene, will be a strong driver for travelers to come to Hong Kong as they feel safer there? And how do you see yourself compared to other luxury hotels now looking into the future? And because I read in Skift that there's some luxury hotels in Hong Kong that they actually got together to start a marketing collaboration. How do you see that, and how do you see the luxury segment in the next couple of months, years evolve in Hong Kong?
When it comes to hygiene, I think before the crisis, Hong Kong is already well known as being very clean and very high standard of hygiene. The government is behind that as well. So I think we are in a very good place. And of course, when people travel again, if they think of Hong Kong, if you compare, let's say, Hong Kong and you take any city in Europe, right? I think for the hotels that are open, the hygiene measure we have in Hong Kong in all the hotels are really top notch. When I say that we clean the lift button every 30 minutes, we check the temperature. Not only we do that, but we record it, right? We check. Yeah, I can check yesterday if it was really happening, if it was happening. So I think we position ourselves very well in Hong Kong with regard to keeping the guests safe. And if you think about it, again, we had a 1,026 cases so far in Hong Kong, right? With a population of 7.5 million. And you look at other cities in Asia that have 5 million people and they have 12,000 cases. You look at Switzerland, I'm from Switzerland, right? Population is 8.5 million and there's 22,000. So you can see that Hong Kong people seem to know how to protect themselves and protect visitor during a crisis like this. Now, once this is over, uh, of course, people will come back to Hong Kong. We have two kinds of business in Hong Kong web because it's a business platform, right? So business people will return, and tourists will definitely want to return because Hong Kong is always a safe, fun, exciting city for many reasons. Dining is amazing in Hong Kong, right? There's so many fantastic, top-notch restaurants. It's a very beautiful city with the Victoria Harbour. You have the mountain, you can go hiking, you can go sailing. So Hong Kong is very, very beautiful and very, very safe, not only from the virus, but as a city in general. I can tell you I feel much safer here than in any other capital in Europe or even in the US. So I think Hong Kong will keep that edge. I mean, look, we run normally in Hong Kong about 90% occupancy year round, right? In good days. And this is going to continue like this, I'm pretty sure. I feel very, very secure about Hong Kong.
So you're not scared that after before the social unrest, now Corona, that after the Corona crisis, the social unrest will pick up again, and or do you think that the Hong Kong is such a strong name, such a strong city that this will overshine all kind of future issues?
Okay, the social unrest is really a issue with Hong Kong. So it could very well be that once the virus is under control, the social unrest continue. That is definitely a possibility. So what I was really talking about scenario 3 and 4 was no social unrest. So the city would be back to normal. Of course, with social unrest, like it was last year from June to December, clearly if the social unrest is to the same level of intensity that it was last year, of course, the business will drop. But instead of running a hotel at 5%, we're going to run at 50%, right? And once there's no social unrest, we're going to back to 90. But yes, I think there's a chance that there will still be some social unrest. So I have that in my mind as well. That is a possibility.
And Pierre, if we look at the the hotel business as a whole, there's a variety of people who have made statements about if and how travel can continue, and as you just explained, you have your model with the 3 or 4 phases where you think it will pick up gradually again. You mentioned earlier that you think there is a positive thing or two because GMs have to be more creative in the hotel industry. Let's not forget in all of this the operating companies. Obviously, you guys with Ritz are part of Marriott. There's other big companies in the world. Give me an which I realize is difficult because you're part of Marriott. So, but try to give me an unbiased opinion. How will the operators deal with this? Because in some cases we're talking about 5, 6, 7, 8, 9,000 hotels around the world, and they're ultimately probably making very, very little revenue from what they were supposed to be doing in a year like 2020 when with the possibilities of travel the way they were. Is there any reason we should be concerned that one of the big global players will disappear from the landscape, in your very own opinion, or is there a time for synergies again? Maybe what's your opinion on that?
Well, normally Marriott has always been a leader during a crisis, and we had that, in 2008, we had different crises, 2000, and normally Marriott is very good and very quick in acting, and we see that at the corporate level, and we see that at the hotel level, and we see that in Greater China and Southeast Asia and in US, very quick to act. Now, when I say quick to act, this means number one, reduce cost. And of course, Marriott in corporate office, they do that. When you have very little money coming in, then you need to cut your cost. And we do it that very effectively. And of course, they also count on a hotel and they work with us to, of course, be creative and cut the cost on our side and also generate top line. And we are doing this. Now, of course, it's very difficult for any hotel company like us, for example, or like a Hyatt or others, I think for everyone. But the crisis will not be here forever. If you think about it, maybe it will be very hard for 6 months. It could be 6 months, right? Now in US, we have most of our hotel in US. Out of 7,000 hotels, I think we have 6,000 in US. The crisis in US started kind of mid-March. Here in Asia, it started really, I would say China, January, February, March, April. But China will recover slowly, so that definitely gonna help us as a Marriott. And within, that will take 5 months, 6 months in total from the beginning. And US we started in March. So basically, it would be difficult for every company for a period of about 6 months. But 6 months, if you think of the longevity of a company, right, big company, 6 months is not the end of the world. It's going to be difficult. We have to be careful. But the business will return. Everyone knows that. I know that. You know that because you know that as soon as you can travel, what are you going to do? You're going to travel, right? And everyone will do the same. So difficult, yes, but big company, I think, are smart enough to stay alive and navigate through a crisis.
Yeah. Is there maybe a chance here as well for the operators, if we talk specifically about things like brand, loyalty, the loyalty programs, or is this maybe more a threat to the loyalty programs? You don't know, talk about Bonvoy, or it can be one of the others, or Hilton Honors, whatever it may be. What's your opinion on this whole aspect of because loyalty, the way we once knew it, we agree was a little bit on the downside. Yes, you had your regular guests, but with new generations coming in, they weren't really too concerned of whether it was ultimately going to be a Ritz-Carlton or a Sofitel. But is there a realistic chance that will change again, because people will cherish the values or the standards they can expect from a branded hotel they've loved and got comfortable with?
If I'm a Bonvoy member and I trust Marriott, that's why I'm a Bonvoy member, I will see how a company will react during time of crisis. And if you look at all the precautions that our hotel have taken, using my hotel as an example, I don't think there's any hotel anywhere in the world other than that would have such a high level of hygiene. We have an hygiene manager, right? We work with government. I think the guests know that we take this very seriously, and that we always put the safety of our guests as a first priority, and they know that. So they know that there is nothing that we can do about, but they know that when they stay in any of our hotel in Hong Kong, for example, it can be the W, it can be the St. Regis, it can be GW Marriott, they will be very safe. And that's why actually we still have occupancy. That's why we still have restaurant business, because some of these Hong Kong people are also Bonvoy member. So once the market is open, I think our Bonvoy member will be feeling very safe and will definitely return, no question about it.
Yeah. Let me ask about communication, Pierre. How important is communication going to be with your guests for the reasons you just mentioned? Hygiene, you know, the feeling of safety, transmitting the feeling of safety to your guests, and how important has communication with your guests been throughout the past, you know, 3 months that you've been in this crisis? And did you do anything specific in terms of your external communication?
Well, it's also a good question because communication is very important. You can see the one who communicate well with the community, they do better. Look at, for example, in New York, right? You can see Governor Cuomo always talking and communicating. So here, our communication with our ownership is very frequent, almost every day. Our communication with head office, almost every day. With my executive team, of course, it's every day. Communication with my ladies and gentlemen, my employee, is every day. We talk, we communicate. They know where we are. We know where we are with safety. And then with our guests, if you're a Bonvoy member, you constantly receive communication from Marriott because I think almost every week they update on what's happening in our hotel around the world, the safety measure that we have, the hygiene measure that we have. So I think both employees and owner, and in this case Bonvoy member, know exactly what's happening in our hotel. If you Bonvoy, you know a lot more than if you're not a member. So the communication from our head office is actually very appropriate from what I have seen.
And Ritz-Carlton Luxury is always a very high touch, high service hotel and operations. Looking at what you said, okay, hygiene, preventive measures is everything, is very important and will be a sort of new kind of luxury. How do you see the use of technology increasing also in the luxury segment? You said that you used a lot of e-commerce to generate additional sales. So do you think that the use of technology in your operations, but also in the distribution, will have a much more important role after the Corona crisis?
Well, definitely. I mean, even during the Corona crisis and after, I think technology is extremely important. You know, today, if we didn't have any technology, we could not communicate to our guests. Our e-commerce is a website, right? So on that website, you go on your phone and you can see all our offers and you can buy items very quickly. It's very good. So e-commerce, we use it for selling souvenir from our hotel. We use it to sell it packages. E-commerce is also, we have an e-commerce person in a hotel that sell rate to all the OTA, online travel agent like Expedia, Ctrip, and so on. So this is a very, very important platform that we have seen growing year after year. And that's e-commerce is one of them. Social media are very important, being whether you use WeChat or Instagram or Facebook, you need to be a little bit everywhere, right? And using also influencer. And we see that when you're very active on social media, you have the right picture, you have the right text, you have the right promotion, you attract people. Your website, our Ritz-Carlton website, for example, people go on a website, but they don't use desktop. They do, but a minority. Most people do it on the phone. So everything we do need to be mobile friendly. So when you open the screen on your phone, it looks great because desktop and the phone is different. It's easy access that you don't have many steps. The picture of your e-shop need to be better. And you said, are we improving during the crisis? For example, I'm looking now at our e-shop, and our e-shop is good, but I don't think it's great. And we are investing now. It will be ready maybe in 2 weeks in using a better platform so that each shop look better and it's more user friendly. So really, this crisis will make us a lot stronger than we were 6 months ago. More creative,
And
strong.
do you think also for internal processes and during stay, touch points with your guests, as employees maybe will need to have less contact to be able to be safer with the guests, or all the different lists and standards which you need to also communicate and track? do you guys are you guys implementing a lot of new measures, or do you think that in general the way how you perceive maybe luxury service maybe will be more through your guests via their mobile phone even during the stay, or do you think that there will always stay this very much high touch personal service?
Well, for example, you can check into a hotel with a mobile app. You marque bon voie, you check in, so you actually don't need to go to the front desk if you want to. So that's already possible. Uh, Soon you're going to be able to open your door just with your phone. We're going to install that. So, but I think this is valid for every hotel. But in a luxury hotel, what people like, what people love, what people need in a luxury hotel, it's actually to have interaction with our people. What I mean is when you travel long way and you're here on business or pleasure, you want somebody to say, good morning, Fritz, for example, welcome to the hotel. Great to have you here. How was your trip? You want that love. You want that personalization. Uh, and that can only be provided by humans. So, yes, the technology is great because it makes everything quicker. But why guests return to a hotel is not only because of the view or because we're the highest hotel in the world, but I can tell you it's because of the warm and genuine care of our people. And this will stay. Now, if you say, Touchpoint, are we still going to shake the hand of our guest or not? Maybe the first months, maybe not, but I'm sure that after, a couple of months, people will have forgotten about this virus and everything will be back to normal, honestly.
Pierre, tell me one last question or two last questions, if I may. Tell me how or what would be your recommendations to GMs around the world. Now, not all of us, or not all of the GMs are obviously in the probably relatively fortunate position to be running a Ritz-Carlton around the world. But if you could give maybe one or two general advice to GMs around the world. I think one of the things you already touched on is probably the whole aspect of inspiration and thinking of new ways around the block. But give me maybe one or two more things where you've really also in your own, because you've, with all due respect, but you know the industry pretty well. You're a veteran of the industry, but I imagine you must have felt a little bit challenged with what happened recently.
Not really. And I mean, of course,
nicely said. Yeah.
but I've been through crisis when I was in Indonesia, and our hotel had been attacked by terrorists. This was in 2009. So I've been through different crises, and this was shorter but very severe. And this crisis is, of course, it was unexpected. But I think as a GM, the first thing we need to be is, like I said, stay calm and positive mindset. Then you need to be very fluid. What I mean by fluid, be like water in a stream. Why? Because in January, we did something. In February, things change. In March, things change. In April, things change. So every week, almost, we need to modify a little bit how we operate because the virus is a little bit uncontrollable. So if you're fluid, calm, and positive, it's going to make everything a lot easier. And then the second important thing really is to drive your team and become an hotelier inventor rather than just an operator. So, and that's why I'm saying I'm having so much fun because we create so many things with the team in a hotel in the last 2 months. If I would send you the list, you will have a headache almost. But if you are an inventor, you're going to keep your people motivated because they create something. They're going to be happy to see the result. You keep your guests happy because you have created new experience. You keep your owner happy because you create revenue. You keep your head office happy because they see what you create and you create revenue. So you make everybody happy. If you become an hotelier inventor, you're having a lot of fun and you bring a lot of positive results. So in these days, you need to become an inventor.
Perfect. Pierre, we have a tradition here on the podcast, and that is that we end every podcast with 3 short questions with the request for a short-ish answer. So if you don't mind, I will fire away with those because just like that, 50 minutes have passed. So here's my 3 short questions, Pierre. Your favorite thing about hospitality is?
Guest and employee. Guest and employees.
Okay. The last place that you traveled to for leisure, where was that, and what was memorable about the trip?
I went to a fantastic. That was actually just before the crisis. I was escaping between the quarantine. I went to Chiang Mai in Thailand, 45 minutes away from the city, and then I did a week yoga retreat. It was yoga in a resort that also provide vegan food, and we had a lot of ritual. Imagine I was on holiday and I get up every morning at 6. So basically, it was a spiritual retreat which included yoga and vegan food in Chiang Mai, and that was amazing.
Very, very. I didn't take you for the yoga type, Pierre, but that's very, very good to find out.
Yoga every day.
Oh, something you would recommend to GMs?
You know, I climbed Kilimanjaro 3 years ago with my 2 sons, right? And I'm not really a hiker, but I was, the highest mountain in Africa. That was fantastic.
Yeah.
And since then, I pick up yoga. I always did fitness, and I recommend yoga to everyone because you improve your strength, you improve your balance, you improve your flexibility. And most people think that yoga is okay, a little bit of flexibility. Have a good lesson with my private teacher, and you will see that 1 hour of yoga is harder than 1 hour in the gym.
And it helps you to stay calm in a crisis.
Yes, you know what? Every morning I do 3 different breathing exercise, and then I do my yoga, and later I get ready for work and everything.
So we add that to the list, Pierre. So we say you need 3 things in a crisis. You need to stay calm. You need to become a hotelier inventor rather than operator, and you need to do yoga. We add it to the list.
Do yoga or stay or do a physical activity that will keep your mind and body in a very high spirit level. Yes.
Yeah. And then the last question, Pierre, that we have for everyone is, which I realize is probably a little bit of an awkward one now, given the situation. In your opinion, the next big thing in hospitality, what will that be?
The next big thing or the next bad thing?
The next big.
Or the next big thing in hospitality? I would say this is an interesting question, because the big thing in hospitality, I would say probably, and I've seen that here, mostly in food and beverage, and is the business of delivery and pickup. Because, in the past, people didn't really use delivery business, right? And I was talking to somebody around a restaurant in Singapore, for example, and they closed, but the delivery is huge. And people like delivery in a way because it's like, you're at home, you watch Netflix, you don't go to the cinema, you want Uber, and delivery, you can be home, you don't waste any time. I think that's one of the biggest opportunity for food and beverage in a hospitality.
Perfect. Pierre,
Amazing.
Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you very much.
You're most welcome, gentlemen.
That's it for this episode, everybody. Thank you for tuning in. As always, don't forget to check out what there is to know about Smack at smack.media or on our YouTube, LinkedIn, Instagram, or Facebook accounts. We'll see you next time.